You arrive at basic military training with a duffel bag holding everything you own and not a single item you control. The fact sinks in as you wait in a line, identical, silent, anonymous. The hours of these first days slip by in a haze of orders barked, feet aligned, and cut the hair. Individuality is not stripped. It evaporates bit by bit, as if you are dissolving into the group. Wake-ups become ritual. The shrill call at 0500. The mad dash for hygiene, the 15 minutes to dress, the necessity to request bathroom breaks, always with that fractional chance of being denied. Resistance is not just futile, it marks you. You see who resists. Their faces harden just before they answer, jaws clenching, answering 3 beats delayed. The military training instructors are predators of hesitation. You learn quickly to comply, to dissolve your wants, to speak when spoken to and not before. The running, the push-ups, the drills, these are finite, measurable, survivable. But the shape of the days blurs. You are given a number, not a name, a uniform, not clothes, a haircut, not style. From the bleachers, you stare at the sameness and realize to be a unit is to surrender self. The pain is not physical. It is existential. Something shifts without your awareness. By week 6, it's not loss you feel, but relief. No decisions, only actions cycling with mindless calm. Your world shrinks to the length of a hallway, measured by call-outs and checklists. The comfort is real. That is why it is dangerous. Graduation. You march with 47 airmen, step-locked, indistinguishable, and for the first time in months, you see pride in your parents' faces. Processed, polished, produced, you are ready for level 2. At Nellis, you share a room with Airman Torres, Mississippi accent, weird hours, loves arguing over nothing. Outside, the desert heat presses against block walls. Inside, jet engines define every day. The F-16s, sleek, deadly, temperamental, are your responsibility. Their guts more familiar to you than any family recipe. Duty here is competence. The chain of command is real but secondary. The true respect circulates among those who know the quirks of individual aircraft, who never skip a checklist, who understand the risk is not only mechanical but mortal. Holloway, your staff sergeant, watches you almost miss a check. He says nothing. Later, the pilot never checks your work. He can't. You remember the lesson in your bones. Dorm rules are simple. Handle your mess. Keep quiet. No drama. The Air Force rewards invisibility at home. The only visible problem is the problem that ends your career. You become an adult, by necessity if not by age. Conversations at home drift, shallow. No one can understand what it means to be the last barrier between error and disaster, so you do not try to explain. 4 years pass with a sense of inevitability. Re-enlistment is both freedom and trap. This time, your specialty changes. Intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. You move inside, away from the flight line, into a windowless room heavy with secrets. Now, your medium is data. You watch places, people, patterns. You brief packages not knowing where they will go, who will act, what it will cost. Your work is never abstract, but the consequences are distant, sanitized by procedure and language. A mission validates your package. Later, follow-on effects, no details. There's pride in that. real, legitimate pride. You tell yourself, someone worse at this would cause more harm, not less. The precision reduces the error. You believe this because it's true, and also because you need it to be true. Both things can be true. You're a staff sergeant now. E5. You've been in 7 years, 2 deployments. 1 to Qatar, 1 to an undisclosed location in Southwest Asia that still requires a code word to discuss in most contexts. You have 3 people directly under your supervision. They come to you with questions about methodology, about edge cases, about what to do when the data doesn't fit the expected pattern. You tell them what you know. When you don't know, you find out before you answer. You're also teaching a collection of institutional knowledge that nobody officially wrote down anywhere. The gap between the manual and the reality of the job is enormous, and navigating that gap is what separates the functional from the excellent. You've crossed that gap. Now you're the bridge. Your second deployment sharpens something in you. You're working out of a joint facility with analysts from 3 other branches. The Air Force runs differently from the Army, differently from the Navy. The culture differences are jarring at first. Other branches have louder, more hierarchical communication patterns. Where an Army sergeant might say what he thinks with volume, an Air Force NCO says it once, cleanly, and expects to not repeat himself. You find out during week 3 that a different agency, one you can't name, has been pulling data from a shared server you didn't know was shared. Products you produced. No attribution, no coordination. Someone higher up is not concerned. You are concerned, not because the data is wrong, because the chain of custody is broken. If your package is used in a decision context and something goes wrong, the trail that explains why the decision was made is now incomplete. You write a memo. Your supervisor tells you to let it go. You let it go, but you don't forget it. This is the level where you first feel the system pushing back against the individual. The rules you were taught, accountability, precision, documentation, are real at the working level. But above you, the rules bend for other pressures, policy, interagency dynamics, things too large to argue against from where you stand. You file this information, you use it later. Your marriage almost doesn't survive the second deployment. It does, but just your wife tells you the person she picked up from the airport is not the same person she dropped off. She means it gently. She means it accurately. You add that to the compartment, label it, seal it, 12 years in. Technical Sergeant, E6. You manage a section now. 14 analysts, a $2.8 million equipment account, and a mission brief that runs 6 days a week to a general officer. You are the senior NCO of record for everything that happens in that room. The wins, the misses, and the gaps in between. They go on your record. Every output has your name on it. The currency at this level isn't technical skill anymore. It's judgment, credibility. The ability to walk into a room with a 2-star general who has 40 more years of experience than you and deliver information in a way that's clear, confident, and unambiguous. You are briefing people who make decisions that move aircraft carriers, who authorize strikes, who wake up at 300 to take calls from combatant commanders. These people don't have time for hedging. They don't have time for, "it's possible that." They need the answer, the confidence level, and the implication. In that order, in under 3 minutes. You learn to do this. The second skill at this level is managing people who are better than you at certain things. You have an analyst in your section, young staff sergeant, 6 years in, who is the best imagery analyst you have ever seen. She sees things in data that trained systems miss. She is also difficult, abrupt, and has a file of friction with 3 previous supervisors. You don't manage her like the others. You give her the hard targets. You insulate her from the administrative friction that wears her down. You fight for her promotion when the board recommends passing her over. She makes your section look exceptional. In return, she stays. That's the deal, unspoken. Leadership at this level is resource allocation. People are resources. You deploy them correctly. You have not thought of yourself as someone who thinks of people as resources. You notice when you start to. You stop sleeping more than 5 hours a night. Not because you can't, because there's always something else. A brief to prep, a metric to review, a personnel issue to document. The work fills all available time with perfect efficiency, and so you give it less available time. 5 hours becomes the floor. You've been passed over once for Master Sergeant. The feedback is vague. Visibility. You don't have enough visibility with the right people. You fix that, not by doing better work, by being seen doing it. This bothers you more than you let on. You got into this work because of the work itself. The idea that visibility matters more than output is something you understood intellectually, but never had to personally reckon with. You reckon with it now. 12 years has not made you cynical, but it has made you precise about what the institution actually rewards, as opposed to what it says it rewards. Those two things are related. They are not identical. The senior officer, 15 years. You commissioned 2 years ago after being selected for a direct commission. Rare. Based on your technical background and a master's degree, you finished at night over 4 years while working full-time. You're a captain now. 03. You wear silver bars, and you outrank every enlisted person in your previous section, including the technical sergeant who replaced you and does the job better than most. The transition from enlisted to officer is disorienting in a specific way nobody warns you about. The people who were your peers, the NCOs, the senior enlisted, now stand when you enter the room. Not because they respect you more than they did, because the uniform requires it. You know exactly what they're thinking when they do it. You were one of them. You stood for officers you didn't respect. You know what that silence holds. You carry that knowledge. It makes you a different kind of officer than the ones who commissioned straight out of college and never worked alongside enlisted personnel for a decade. You know the flight line. You know the maintenance logs. You know the intelligence chain from the analyst's chair to the targeting board. This is not common. You're assigned to a joint task force as an ISR planner. You're now on the other side of the table. You're the one receiving packages from analysts like who you used to be. You're the one asking questions about methodology and confidence levels. You know what good work looks like. You also know when someone is covering a gap with confident language. You push back harder than your peers do because you know what's underneath. This creates friction. It also creates results. Your first major call as a planning officer. There is a high-value target, a window of 40 minutes, and a package with a 70% confidence assessment. Standard practice would be to flag it and pass it up the chain. A 90-meter shift in the target coordinates. Small, catastrophic. You flag it. The window closes. The target is not hit. 3 days later, better intelligence confirms the original location was wrong. Your call prevented an error that would have required an investigation involving 4-star level review. Nobody thanks you publicly. Your commanding officer nods once across a conference table. In this world, that is the equivalent of a standing ovation. Your reputation calcifies into something specific. The planner who does his own homework. This becomes both your brand and your burden, because now every commander who knows your name will give you the problems that require someone who does their own homework. You will not sleep through the night for the next 2 years. You're a lieutenant colonel. 05. You command a unit of 210 personnel across 3 flights and a mission that runs 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The title is Commander. The reality is that you are simultaneously a CEO, a judge, a counselor, a politician, and an administrator. You sign off on Article 15's non-judicial punishment. You approve emergency leaves. You brief generals. You sit on promotion boards. You manage a budget. You field complaints. You make calls alone at 0200 when something goes wrong and the chain of command needs an answer before the sun comes up. You have not flown operationally in 3 years. Your command tour requires it. There's no time for anything but the unit. This is the strange irony of the Air Force for career officers. The power at this level is structural. You don't have to demonstrate anything anymore. The authority is assumed. You make a decision 6 months into command that you will remember for the rest of your career.